So this is our breakfast setup. Cereals, fruits. So it's currently 22 degrees. We're going to have a top of 28. So should be a great day. Overcast. Don't think rain's predicted though, so that's good. Just doing a temperature check before we actually set out for the day and see if I need any jumpers. This is coming out of the elevator to go to our room. 5. So, master bed, big window base, chairs, lounge, desk, bathroom. On our way to our first tour, which is the hot rods around the city of Berlin. It's only 8 kilometres from our motel, but it's taking us half an hour to get there, so we decided to take the bike instead of walking or taxi. Give us a little bit more insight on the city. So this is our next tour, hot rod tour of Berlin. So we get to go past most of all the famous landmarks, all in a cute little hot rod. And winning, there's markets on that I might have to look at when we're finished. Just finished our hot rod tour of Berlin and basically went through every tourist attraction site, history point, checkpoint Charlie, etc. It was absolutely brilliant. Go-karts were different again from Japan and Hamburg that we did, but yeah, it's so much fun. And yeah, totally recommend it. So if you're in Berlin, make sure you go and do the Berlin hot rod tour. Ours was for 90 minutes. I think there's an extra long one as well if you wanted to. But yeah, great guys. Hopefully they'll come and visit us when they come to Australia. Glad Greg's riding because these roads are so confusing to me. He's doing such a great job. This is our motel. Takes up a whole block. Portion control is
Zero
control. What do you got? Salmon?
I just thought it was a bit of focaccia and some smoked salmon.
Yep, that's huge. And then I've got
Well, dinner's going to be cheap.
roast beef
Pulled beef
on waffle.
on a waffle. Just a sandwich.
Oh my god.
And crisps.
Crisps. Oh yeah, forgot the crisp on the side. Righto, heat up. So we're en route to our next tour, which is our walking tour, which is named the Rude Bastards Tour of Berlin.
I'll fit right in there.
So yeah, Greg will fit definitely right in. So we got a half an hour walk to our meeting place, and then we get to get some enlightened commentary, I think, from this tour. But yeah, we'll see what we see on the way. I think this is cute. The little walkie don't warps man has a little hat on. So that.
Most people would walk and not have a clue.
Yeah, so this used to be the Berlin Wall.
This is a very, very similar thing. Now, the Berlin Wall is a very unhappy memory for a lot of Germans. So see this piece here? What would happen when the wall fell down, people just got rid of it. They just get enough. We don't want this anymore. And they just realized a little bit later, oops, maybe we should remember this. It's a bit late. What had happened, they did like a solid piece like this to Nelson Mandela in South Africa, or to the university in Houston, Texas, or in the university in Georgia, or the Smithsonian Institute. There's more Berlin Wall in the USA than there is in Berlin. Anyway, what happened was they were going to do something about remembering it. What we have here is a marker throughout the whole city, well, 46 kilometers of the city, where the Berlin Wall used to be. And you can kind of, if you can see here, if you can read it, you're in the west, and if you can't, you're in the east. So this is probably the lamest piece of Berlin Wall in Berlin, actually, and I want to take you to the best one. Original, it's not that much bigger, to be honest with you, and I'm going to make a few recommendations for later if you're into this stuff. But what I want to do is sort of clear up one little thing that people think the Berlin Wall was a straight line. Did anybody think that? No? Alright, okay. We're going to move over here, just going to do a little bit.
So that's Knut. He was polar bear that was born in captivity, first time in captivity, and he's now a mascot of Germany.
And he runs away from home to England with some cadets. One of them, the ringleader, very tall, handsome guy.
This is a monument for those homosexuals that died. Pretty gruesome story actually, and there's a film that plays inside. It's very plain, very nothing on it.
All right. Now, in Mein Kampf, he says if we get a 2/3 majority, we can change the constitution and just have one leader, me. To get that happening, they needed a 2/3 majority. In 1932, they had 32%. They're actually going backwards. Okay. Now, Hitler's made chancellor, everything changes. They're also broke, but he gets businessmen in Germany, says, we're coming in, I want you to back me. I need your money. And all of a sudden, the Nazi Party had money, they formed a coalition. What is this people with motorbikes today? This with me today. You got this, so you got no money, now they have money. All right? And they can campaign, because this is a democracy. All right? Now, it was so democratic, you got 1% of the votes, you got 1% of the seats. So Bavarian farmers got 1%, the German Workers' Party got 2%. They can't agree. So they literally had a new government every 9 months during the first stab at democracy. But they had a president who could just write a law, you guys can't agree, I'm putting the law through. He was like a king. Does that make sense? And in 1932, we're going back, sorry, they have a presidential election. Everybody agrees the president's done a great job, let's make him the president without having an election. One guy goes, I want to become president. Guess who?
Couldn't imagine.
And he goes, I want to become number one. And everybody goes, who do you think you are, this young guy? What a joke. Hindenburg's in his 80s. This guy, he's not even a general, you know? And he demands they have to do it. It's democracy. They have this election. And guess what? Hitler does well. How? Well, you've heard of direct mail? They invented that. They invented it. Segmenting a crowd, like segmenting an audience. You're a doctor? I'm a doctor. In the Nazi Party, this is what we believe. You're a teacher. You're a real estate agent. You're a farmer, right? They did that. This marketing. It's incredible. They used the loudspeaker. That was technology back in the day. So it's radio. And they campaigned every single day. That's expensive. Now, Hitler's going for president. All right? And he gets in an aeroplane and flies around Germany. He can do 5-6 rallies in a day. Guess who invented this? He doesn't become president, but he's a contender. Then the general election happens, by the way, in 1928, they had 2%. In 1929, there's the Wall Street crash. I imagine the Nazis going, yes. Now there's chaos. In 1930, 70%. In 1932, I'm going to become president. Doesn't quite make it. The general election happens, 37%. 2% in 28, 4 years later, there's 30% unemployment in Germany. Believe me, they'd already had an economic collapse in 1923. It's a mess. People had enough. And the Nazis going, we're going to fix it, okay? Simple platform, bread and work. Keep it simple. Sorry. But that was it, you know? Like, we're going to do this. Guys, we'll do no harm to protect the German race. You know that swastika? It's like biology, the German race. Anyway. In August, the Senate Party is banned. Remember them? I didn't mention them. They formed the coalition. Gets a coalition, a 2/3 majority with the Senate Party. They're made illegal 6 months later.
Once he's used them.
Yep. In October, the press is Germanized. In November, if you've got a criminal record, again, I'm being facetious, we're tough on crime. You've got a criminal record, you're a person of interest, you might commit a crime in the future, so we now have the power to arrest you preemptively. Like, honestly, all of you look a bit suspicious right now. I think you're going to commit a crime, so we're going to put you somewhere safe, you're going to earn your place back in, and what you have are enemies, political enemies. Communists, trade unionists, racial enemies, disabled people, Jews, and you have antisocial enemies, criminals, and you have these different categories. You can see the yellow triangle? That comes later. Jewish people are put in camps until 1935. There's a crime called race defiling, the Nuremberg race laws. You go to a camp for that. In 1938, if you have a business, you're still in Germany, they put you in a camp, said sign over your property and leave Germany, we'll let you out, and they did. They didn't go far enough. They went to Belgium, Netherlands, France. Does anybody know the percentage of Jewish people living in Germany in 1933? Have a guess, come on.
95%.
Okay, excellent. It's lower. Someone else.
15.
It's lower. There we go. It's a little bit higher. You're really close.
What'd you say?
0.5. It's less than 1%. It was 0.75%. Right? What's going on? Guess what happens? In 1941, the German army has an occupied area with 9 million Jews. And what's the plan? Deport everybody to the Soviet Union. And have reservations, I'm not joking. Now, that doesn't work out. If you ask Adolf Hitler what the final solution was, you've heard that term? It meant mass deportation. He might have said Madagascar. Why were the Jewish people in Poland, by the way, massive Jewish population in Poland, put in ghettos? By the way, when people being rounded up and put in ghettos, 15% of the people died because you're too slow, they'd execute. And they had orders to shoot children as well. They didn't necessarily, but they stick them on trucks, you know, same thing. 85% are in a terrible, horrific, dangerous situation in ghettos, but why are they there? Millions of people in one place, they can be deported later. Does that make sense? In 1942, that changes. There's a meeting in Berlin called the Wannsee Conference. They discuss the final solution to the Jewish problem. That's when they decide to change from mass deportation to genocide, to murder. And then that's when the next step comes. And that's when they start putting Jewish people, the electronic. It doesn't start like that. We've all heard of Auschwitz, right? Like, that was a concentration camp like these other ones. And the first prisoners, 1 to 30, were prisoners, criminals, used as guards. Everybody else were politicians and journalists and homosexuals, homeless people, all those people. And then later Jews, but not many. Until 1942, they never changed. Right. Yeah, actually, it's, I know this is new, but it's, there's always something connected to these memorials. And this is over here, the memorial for the murdered Jews of Europe. Up the road is a memorial for victims of the disabled program. And over at near the Reichstag is a memorial for the homeless people. And people on the fringes of society. And most of them have a pattern, a memorial and some information, so it's both. People pay their respects but also come to learn and stuff. And I don't have much more to say, I just wanted to have a look myself, sorry.
It's funny how they target small groups.
Yeah. Well, actually, I shouldn't be standing on those, but they don't know what it is. This is the thing. People don't really know what this is. And they walk around and they think it could be a maze, it could be something fun, alright? It's actually a memorial for the Holocaust, okay? And essentially, this does not have an explanation, alright? And if you ask the architect, the guy that created this, what does this mean? He says, what does it mean to you? This is a tricky thing to come to terms with. 6 million sounds very abstract, and just understanding the scope of this is really, really hard to imagine. And this murder, people don't still. But what this has is a museum underneath it. Has anybody been to Anne Frank House? Okay, so it's like Anne Frank House times 6. So you have 6 very personal stories about people that suffered under this regime. Changes it. But this is also where people pay their respects. And it's very interesting when you go in there. When you stand here and look at it from here, it doesn't make sense necessarily. So I'm going to invite you in. And what's this thing about, you know, what does it mean? The reply is, what does it mean to you? And that's interesting. So, well, come on, tell me. You know, why aren't there names? What's going on? You know, I want something more concrete. And this is the thing. When the war ended, you would have, I mentioned a little bit about the concentration camps. That was, it was literally an organisation run by the inmates themselves. Weirdly, and they had a way of pitting everybody against each other. So in the camps like Sachsenhausen, for example, there might be 30,000 prisoners in the prison itself. There are a lot of guards on the perimeter, more guards on the perimeter, but actually in the camp, there was never more than 100 guards. SS. But they enrolled prisoners to be the guards. Does that make sense? They had this whole divide and rule. You know that hierarchy? That's intentional to kind of get people against each other, actually. and they had all these other mechanisms of control. It's incredible, actually, how effective it was. It's scary. But basically, what happened was the output, the economic output was high. They needed a lot of people to organize. It's like a corporation. Does that make sense? Corporation is not just one person doing everything. It's you're doing a little piece of the big thing. And so when the war ended, somebody might be held to account. You were organising the trains. Yeah, I was in the office, and a message came through from the guards on the train saying, listen, the food was subpar. You didn't have enough jam like last time. We wanted a few extra beers, and the accommodation was terrible. We couldn't sleep. It's not good enough. Can you fix it? And they go, yeah, okay, and they fix it. And later on the question is, did you know? I go, I thought we were sending people to a labour camp. I didn't realise I was sending 2,000 people to their deaths. I was a cog in the machine. And there's no way you can prove that. There's no witnesses. Does that make sense? Another common defence was, I was a soldier following orders. All right? You can't argue that. So what happens in the 60s, actually, young people growing up in West Germany who were babies when this happened and asking questions like, why is this guy teaching in a school as a former concentration camp guy? Why is Hans Globke, the guy who wrote the Nuremberg race laws, the main advisor to Konrad Adenauer, the Chancellor of West Germany? That's not right. What about you, Mum and Dad? Right? You heard about the 60s, my parents talked about the 60s, that sexual liberation, Woodstock, all that sort of stuff. Like in Germany, it got even more intense because young people going asking these questions, they got pretty radical. And have you heard of the Baader-Meinhof complex, Red Army faction? Yeah, terrorist groups, left-wing terrorist groups in Germany assassinating these people. Pretty full on. And then it changes, it gets more, over time. But they got people called excess perpetrators. They went above and beyond orders. Does that make sense? They got them because they were witnesses. They could prove that. Maybe guards, not people in those buildings. So many people didn't see justice. Anyway, what does it mean to you? Basically, what it's saying is it's not good enough. Like this idea that it's like a mirror. Does that make sense? You can't change. You can't tell by somebody will think you change has to be. You have to within yourself. It's more like, what was your part? Does that make sense? Like there's people seizing power, whatever everybody else's part, and saying you've got to kind of, if we're all, like, I don't know, my opinion, like you have your what you want to do, selfishly, my life, what I want to do, but actually you can't do it on your own. There's people around you as well. You got to kind of understand that as well.
This is the memorial for all those Jews that died in the Holocaust. No names, all different heights, lengths. Pretty sobering.
Around here. These are, yes, it's open. It's open today. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's open on Tuesday. It's closed on Mondays.
Typical.
Unfortunately, but these are open and 24/7.
This is where all the famous movie stars used to stay, and this motel survived the bombing in the war. Everything else was rebuilt.
Question, how do they decide who got what? Alright, you probably weren't even, were you here? Were you alive yet? You lot? Do you know Michael Jackson younger though? You weren't, yeah, so it's like, oh my god, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'm really, really old now, it's right, but yeah, so it's a big moment, you know, and this is his baby blanket. So people are going, he's the biggest star in the world at this point. And people are going, he's got a baby. He says, show us your baby, Michael, show the baby. He's going, yeah, alright, you know, he goes, there you go.
Acá con casi lo entró por la ventana y todos dijeron, no, lo quiere tirar.
The Royal Suite, 25,000 euros a night. Breakfast is not included.
So what was it, the third window?
Third story, second window.
Is where Michael Jackson dangled blanket over in 2002.
And how did that work out? Second World War, there's rations and stuff like that, bratwurst on the street,
So this is the site of Adolf Hitler's bunker. It is actually a car park. And he had, his officers went for 100-meter corridor or something, and about the bunker, and yeah, pretty fascinating. Yeah, they made it a car park and don't give it any energy, so no one is restarting the Nazis.
New Reich's Chancellery went along like that. This is sort of built. Alright, let's just stop. Okay, just want to say, you know, I mentioned when East Germany's German people are demonstrating, this is not right, sort it out. This is the building they were surrounding. And this picture was taken from those windows. Can you have a see all these people standing next to each other, kind of like arm in arm. It's a peaceful protest. I mean, it was a bit noisy, but essentially they didn't have guns or anything. And this photograph was taken from those windows so people could be identified and arrested later. And this is when you get hundreds of thousands of people literally being questioned, tens of thousands of people in jail, people disappeared, and the Stasi become that new force in the war. Remember that? It all starts building up. This year, 1953, this is a big moment. This is why this is a memorial for that moment. It's quite interesting. This building, in the first place, was actually run by the Nazis. It was a Luftwaffe building. You know where all the bombings were organised? Blitz didn't get blown up. That's weird, isn't it? Place all the bombings, feature rockets, all that stuff. All this area has been destroyed. See those empty spaces? New buildings, copper blocks of plate. This was used as a landmark. They would bomb everything around it, and that's why it survived. Does that make sense? The East German.
Original piece of the Berlin Wall.
Take a piece home. People have tons of this stuff still in the thing. And it's quite incredible. Just on the other side, that's Kreuzberg, the American sector. We spent most of the tour in the eastern sector. Actually, more or less. If you want to get an idea about what happened, how Adolf Hitler rose to power, this is one of the best starting points. This one here is an exhibition from 1933 to 1945. It starts down that end.
The Berlin Wall, or what was the Berlin Wall, and then you follow the brick. And I'm walking on the west, and Greg is on the east and west. The wall goes into a right angle under that car.
In 1989, this was checkpoint Friedrichstrasse, East German checkpoint. Can you see that building there? There's that building there. This checkpoint was gigantic. Why? Because people come in from the east into the west, being thoroughly checked because they're worried about somebody escaping. They're also worried about people coming from the west into the east, not smuggling in things like, I know, books, David Bowie records, Coca-Cola, jeans, right? Chocolate, knitting magazines, cartoons, right? All that corrupt Western stuff. And it was really full on. If you're going to sum up East German government in one word, paranoid, would probably be the word. And people who have been here back in the day go, where's it gone? It's all disappeared. This is Checkpoint Charlie, the one we know about. And that guy there is not Charlie. Don't ask me why. Somebody did it's cool art project. Every army has a band, right? So they took photographs of all the band members. In the American band, in the British band, in the Soviet band, and in the French band. And this guy, Jeffrey, was a trumpet player. And they just stuck his face up there. Why? Because he's looking at the east, like the front line. Can you see that? Checkpoint Charlie for us is the front line of the Cold War. On the other side is the Soviet trumpet player. It's over there. Jeffrey kind of came here, actually his mates saw him up there and said, hey, you're famous. And he was, well, he's a guy living in California, came here later in his 60s, kind of pretty healthy, kind of rides his bike, motorbike, plays music, had a pretty good life. Standing here going, hey. But it's not really, this is how it works. You see this? If you want to get in a blend, you have to go through a checkpoint. There are 10 checkpoints and only one for international visitors. That's why we know about Checkpoint Charlie, because we're the international visitors. Make sense? I'm sorry. This place is a complete tourist trap. It's probably one of the worst places to hang out in Berlin. But it's Checkpoint Charlie. The original Checkpoint Charlie is in the museum in West Berlin, for the Allied History Museum. And if you come back in a year or two, this is all going to be reconstructed into free Checkpoint Charlie Museum. And that whole thing is going to be reconstructed. But it's not there yet. At the moment, it's a bit of a transition point. And I just want to say, you could all have done a chocolate.
I love these little smart cars. They literally park vertical compared to horizontal. So cute. So we finished our tour, which was great. Paul, our host, was a wealth of knowledge, and he was from Australia, so even better for us. Shouted him a beer. So now we're walking home, but the only issue is we didn't finish where we started, so we've got a 46-minute walk home, and it's currently 8:30 p.m. And this is just a park, and it's so busy, and it's Sunday night. So we've made it back to the motel, and we needed dinner, so across the road is an all-you-can-eat sushi bar. So for some reason we are eating a lot of sushi on this trip.